Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the warm welcome. I'm Katja. I'm the founder of WaveMakers. And today I invite you on a journey of redefining leadership together. And I heard that all of you love experiments. Is that true? So you can close your eyes once again. And I would love to ask you to picture a leader. Who do you see? Is it a woman or a man? Black or white? Old or young? Pregnant or not pregnant? Who of you now actually saw a person that they know? Could be a role model of yours from your network, also a public figure, a real person. And I see some of the hands are going up already. Yeah, that's what typically happens. And this experiment was actually inspired by a real research experiment that was conducted at the University of Warwick by Professor Tina Kiefer, who is a professor in organizational science. And she had a group of people and basically addressed them with one single prompt. She asked them to draw an effective leader. And here's what people came up with, because what usually happens is if we start drawing and getting creative, we think a little less and we focus more on expressing ourselves and putting our thoughts to paper. And as you can see, there are a couple of patterns that we can observe here in the drawings. So first of all, first finding, the participants of the study exclusively drew men. And we can observe a couple of additional patterns, like, for example, the suits, the status symbols, a big watch, the power pose. And secondly, people drew specific persons, those that they knew from their environment. And here we have Winston Churchill. But you can see that everything that people drew is a reflection of their past and present experience. This is completely normal, but it's also a leadership stereotype. And this leadership stereotype is a problem. It's a problem for talents, for business, and also for society. Let me tell you why. The traditional image of leadership that we just saw here in the background is first of all a problem for talents. So millennials and Gen Z, they no longer identify with it. They don't want to be this cartoon. It's not how they see themselves. It doesn't reflect their values and priorities. But do they really challenge it? Do they actively step up, take on leadership responsibility and change it and shape it and make it theirs from within? Less than you may think. So only 14% of all millennials and Gen Z actually want to be leaders. And if we take a look at those leaders that are currently underrepresented, those that are very different from the cartoons that were drawn here, I'm thinking of women, for example, then it even looks worse. So women have the same level of ambition compared to the male counterparts at the beginnings of their careers, but then these ambitions radically drop. And researchers also found the real reasons why those ambitions drop. And it is impostor syndrome, microaggressions, all sorts of experience that relate to being different from this traditional leadership image. And of course, those are all the wrong reasons. So the young talent is turning away from leadership, not because they cannot do it, but for all the wrong reasons. This traditional leadership image is equally hurtful for organizations. So organizations need talent, and they need talented people to step up. Organizations need leaders, and these leaders are missing, increasingly missing. So experts predict that in my home country, Germany, for example, we will be missing up to 1 million leaders by 2030.
So how can we fill this gap? Like, how can we build up now in just 5 years those leadership pipelines that will help us have enough leaders by 2030 if there is not enough talent stepping up right now? So companies are experiencing this increasing pressure, also the pressure to create diverse leadership ranks, diverse representation. And they rightfully ask themselves, how on earth am I going to master that if we don't have strong leadership talent pipelines in the first place? And of course, this is also a problem for the world and for our society. We are facing enormous challenges. Let's think of the health crisis, wars, climate change. We actually do need those diverse perspectives more urgently than ever to tackle the world's biggest problems. We need the perspectives of women and men, old and young, different origins, different walks of life, different experiences. We need many leaders to step up and take responsibility to create a better future together, collectively. But at the moment, many of them are turning away. And that's exactly why at WaveMakers we set out to redefine leadership. And today I'm going to show you how we can redefine leadership together. We can redefine leadership at different levels, but let's start with the layer that's at the core, and that's you, your personal leadership. What kind of leader do you want to be? What do you want to be remembered for? One of the most common mistakes is that people start to imitate someone instead of expressing their own individuality. And sometimes even seasoned leaders are coming our way and asking, hey, how do I make my public talk less boring? Or how do I build a personal brand? And well, all I can tell you is that the answers are probably already inside of you if you're asking that. But you may have been too busy reading Elon Musk's biography or mirroring your favorite mentor instead of finding your own way of leading. We call that code switching. So code switching means you are copying someone else in order to conform. And that's the easiest way, but it doesn't serve you as a leader. Because eventually it's authenticity that builds trust in people. And that's exactly why you want to work on your unique personal leadership. So let's redefine leadership is not a job title. It's the courage to be you. To succeed as a leader, you also will always need other people around you. And that's exactly why we will redefine now the interpersonal layer of leadership as well. One time I remember a member of the WaveMakers community saying, a leader is a man in a suit that's shouting at people. And maybe you have heard similar things, like the leader is always the loudest in the room, extroverted, likes to listen to themselves talk, interrupting others. And there may even be a kernel of truth in there, because only 5% of all leaders are actually introverts. But introverts make pretty good leaders, and research has proven that over and over again, especially because they tend to be good listeners. And that's exactly the pitfall. Many leaders think communication is talking, when it's really not. Communication is listening, understanding, empathizing, and expressing yourself with clarity. We also call that nonviolent communication, so this holistic view of communication, and it's something that we all need to practice daily, because it's totally normal that one of our muscles, the expressing muscle or the listening muscle, is stronger than the other, but I encourage you all to find out which one that is. You can start by tracking your talk time in the next call that you'll be having, and then start training that other muscle to balance your communication skill set as a leader. And let's redefine, leadership is not a job title. It is to continue working on yourself. Now let's take a look at your organizational leadership. So that's how decisions are made, how teams are motivated, how objectives are achieved. And if you complete a management course, the focus typically lies here. But there is one thing that they won't necessarily teach you, and that's how to leave your comfort zone as a leader. And the most dangerous comfort zone for managers is to continue surrounding yourself with like-minded people. People who are very similar to you. And also hiring people that you click with. So things are easy, you're kind of aligned from the start. But that's a great danger. Because all of this feels great, but it leads to stagnation. You're missing out on diverse perspectives, and that's what we also call missing out on cognitive diversity. So cognitive diversity is not just about gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation. It is really to leverage how we all think differently. And we all do think differently because of our genetics and our life experiences. But it's not so easy to always unleash these different perspectives and create something great from it. The biggest mistake is to think that diverse teams automatically perform better than homogeneous teams. That's wrong. But diverse teams that operate in safe environments, those ones outperform everyone else. So I want you to find ways to really leverage those different perspectives and create solutions together that homogeneous teams could never even think of. So your job as a leader is, number one, to do the uncomfortable and elevate people who are nothing like you. And secondly, create safe environments in which their different perspectives can flourish. So let's redefine leadership is not a job title. It's being strategically counterintuitive. Lastly, I want you to think and imagine what this world could look like if we redefine leadership culture at its core. We all grew up thinking that there is a leader, someone special, someone chosen, someone who leads the way and everyone else will follow. But I personally believe that leadership is not a monopoly and that our elite thinking around leadership, our fixation on ranks and titles and hierarchies actually undermines the true potential of leadership. I believe that there is no such thing as leadership inflation, but rather the opposite. So the more leaders we have, and I mean authentic, great communicators, taking responsibility for others, the better off we are as a society. So what if anyone could be a leader? For that, we will look at leadership as a life skill. So the ability to lead yourself and lead others towards a future vision. And research confirms that we are not born as leaders, but that leadership is a skill set that can be learned and developed over time. The question is only, how long does it take to learn leadership? Has any of you heard how long it takes to master any new skill? The answer is 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours to master a skill. So if we assume it takes 10,000 hours to master leadership, the good news is that if you are lucky enough and your employer is sending you into a leadership training, you will only have to practice 9,960 hours of leadership afterwards. So you can see it's a complex task. And since the average leadership program participant is currently 42 years old, many of the decision-making rooms may continue to look like this in the future. And this is an example from the Munich Security Conference 2 years ago, a snapshot that was taken at the CEO lunch. But that's exactly what we set out to change with WaveMakers. So we want to live in a world where leadership is redefined in a way that diverse talents can identify with it, and companies are enabled to grow emerging leaders over time. And we do that by democratizing access to leadership education. And this is what it looks like. We are building an AI-driven skill-building app that takes leadership development out of this elite space and makes it inclusive for everyone, for the entire organization to learn. At the same time, it is personalized, so it responds to the unique challenges that different talents are facing, regardless of their current job title. And lastly, it's technological instead of man-made. So this way, companies no longer have to pick 40 leaders that they send into a 40-hour training, spending 4,000 euros per person, but they empower the entire organization with leadership skills, regardless of their ranks and titles. So we can create bigger and more diverse talent pools together. Our unique insights come from upskilling more than 2,000 emerging leaders, especially women and underrepresented groups, in our leadership programs and workshops. So we know all of their pains and struggles, but we also know their dreams, their aspirations, their potential. And we managed to build now a community of 15,000 young professionals worldwide that are already challenging outdated leadership norms. And that's where we invite all of you to join our wave-making movement, because from today you can officially sign up as a beta user of the WaveMakers app. Just scan the code, and of course you can also connect with us, because we're looking for partners, we're looking for investors who believe in our mission and want to empower a generation of leaders together with us. So make waves, move mountains.
Thank you, Katja. Thank you so much.